What's up, everybody? My name is Zach Pasquarello, and I have made $45,000 in the first 3 months of 2023 with my bookkeeping business, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I did it. If you are thinking about starting a bookkeeping business, or if you started a bookkeeping business and you're trying to grow, these videos are perfect for you. I'm going to tell you some tips and tricks on how I got started, and then I'm also going to give you some pointers on once you get a couple clients, how to grow your business. So whether you're brand new or you have a little bit of experience, I promise these videos are going to be perfect for you. If you like this video, subscribe to my channel, like this video, because I post videos every single day teaching you how to start and grow a bookkeeping business. I've been doing this for 3 years and I've had a very successful business. I absolutely love what I do. So my goal is to teach you what I did to start and grow my business so that you can do the exact same thing. Hey, I forgot to mention this whenever I originally recorded this video, but I do one-on-one consultations with people all the time, and if you want to meet with me, there's actually a link in the description below. You can schedule a one-on-one meeting with me. I would love to work with you. In this video, I'm going to touch on a couple things. First of all, I'm going to tell you how I made $45,000 this year in the first 3 months. I'm going to talk about what you would do if a client asks you a complex tax question. So like I said, I'm not only going to tell you how to get started, but also once you have established your bookkeeping business, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks. Also, I'm going to talk about my client agreement that I send all of my clients before we get started. And then finally, I'm going to touch real quick on the idea, should you become a CPA or should you stick to bookkeeping? Okay, so let's jump right into it. How did I make $45,000 in the first 3 months? And let me just say in the beginning, caveat, I'm not going to make $45,000 every 3 months. This has been a really busy season. I've gotten really lucky. I've worked really hard. I've had a lot of people reach out to me that need cleanups, mostly because it's tax season. So as a business owner, you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs. You need to ride the ebbs and flows of your business when it comes to your workload, your income, your stress level, the problems, the wins. So I just want to caveat, I'm not going to make $45,000 every 3 months, but I have had a really successful start to 2023. So I want to share that with you to give you a little bit of encouragement. But I also want to warn you that this required 3 years of work leading up to this point. So if you're just getting started, I promise you're not going to make $45,000 in the next 3 months. But if you follow the steps that I talk about in all of my videos, maybe 6 months, maybe 12 months, maybe 2 years down the road, you can have an extremely successful bookkeeping business. Okay, so like I said, $45,000 in 3 months. Now let's talk about real quick how I got there. So bookkeeping is an incredible service to offer for a bunch of reasons. I'm going to tell you why real quick. Mostly because of this idea of recurring. So all of your clients are recurring. So right now I have anywhere from $8,000 to $9,000 of recurring monthly revenue from clients who I do their monthly bookkeeping for. So over the past 3 years, I have onboarded 30 to 40 clients. I've onboarded a lot more than that, but right now I have 30 to 40 clients. I've lost several, I've gained several more, but right now I have about $8,000 worth of recurring clients. Each client pays me like between $250 and $500. So I have right around 30-ish clients. So $8,000 a month in recurring revenue. So 8,000 times 3, that's $24,000. So half of my income has come from recurring clients. Now, the other clients have come from cleanups. So I got a cleanup from Indiana, a trucking company from Indiana. I got a local company that they sell software. So software from a local company from Baltimore. I had another cleanup for 2022. And finally, I had a local-ish company from Philly. So I'm located in central Pennsylvania, so Philly is kind of local to me. But the reason I'm talking about this, Indiana, a software company, Baltimore, Philly, is because these services, these bookkeeping services, can be nationwide. And you can service a large variety of small businesses. It doesn't have to be all trucking companies. It doesn't have to be all restaurants. It doesn't have to be all photographers. Like, you can have a niche, but I don't recommend that you have a niche in the beginning. So you can service small businesses, any small business, all throughout the country. So this trucking company from Indiana, they ended up paying me like $3,000. This software company ended up paying me $4,000. This company in Baltimore ended up paying me $5,000. And this local company in Philly ended up paying me $1,200. Okay, so these were all of my cleanups, and the reason I'm talking about these catch-ups is because I just wanted to show you that you can be working with clients all over the country in a large variety of industries. And now that it's tax season, people are realizing that I need bookkeeping. So not only can you get recurring monthly revenue, you can service people all over the country, but also this is a necessary service. It's not a luxury service. Bookkeeping is necessary for small businesses because the tax man always needs to be paid. So small business owners in January through April, they start feeling that pinch of, oh my goodness, I need to file my taxes. I didn't do any of my bookkeeping. What am I going to do? That's whenever they look up Harrisburg Bookkeeping. They call Zach Pasquarello, which is me, and they hire me to do their bookkeeping. So if you're thinking about starting a bookkeeping business, you can sell a necessary service nationwide that produces recurring monthly revenue. So this is 9, 12, 14,000 plus 24,000. So right now we're at 38,000, and I got the last $7,000 from doing hourly work in November and December that I ended up billing in January. So I did the work in November and December, about $7,000. I charge anywhere from $60 to $100 an hour, depending on the work that I'm doing. And all of that was also cleanups for 2022, people ahead of the game getting ready to file their taxes in 2023. So $7,000 of it was from hourly work that I did to clean up, and then $14,000 of it was from cleanups that I did in 2023, and then $24,000 was from recurring revenue. Okay, so that is how I made $45,000 in the first 3 months. Now I'm going to dive a little bit deeper. Once you have a couple clients, I'm going to give you some tips. Okay, like I talked about in the very beginning, I'm going to talk about 3 things. I'm going to try to do it quickly so that you can catch all this information. You need to have a contract with your clients before you get working, should you become a CPA. And then finally, what happens whenever you get a complex tax question, because that can be really intimidating if you're a bookkeeper. Okay, so first of all, client agreement. This is something I did not do in the beginning, but I think it's something that's very, very important. And if you go to my website, harrisburgbookkeeping.com/store, the link is in the description below. You can find a bookkeeping client agreement. I have it for sale. You can use the exact same copy that I use. And basically, this is just a quote unquote legal document. I didn't have an attorney write it up. I got it from maybe Rocket Lawyer, maybe Law Depot, maybe I got it. I don't really know where I got it, but it's really just a client agreement. It outlines very briefly the services that I'm going to provide. I have like 4 bullet points. I'm going to categorize your transactions, reconcile your accounts, generate your financial statements, and this is going to apply to all the transactions from 2022. I briefly outline the services that I'm going to provide. I explain the payment terms. So the first 2 bullet points are the most important. What services am I going to provide? What are the payment terms? Are you going to pay me monthly? Are you going to pay me all up front? Are you going to pay me 50% in the beginning or 50% in the end? So first, I talk about the services that I'm going to provide. Second, I talk about payment. And then there's like a page and a half of just legal mumbo jumbo that I have no idea if it's legit, but it looks pretty legit and they're going to sign it. So if God forbid anything ever did happen, I'll have a document that I can fall back on. Like I said, an attorney did not prepare it for me. I'm not sure how legally binding it would be if I ever had to take somebody to court. I've never had that issue, but at least I have a client agreement. It makes me look really professional, and it puts something in writing that outlines our agreement. And then the third thing I want to say is e-signature. So you can use Adobe, you can use DocuSign, you can use PandaDoc, but I highly recommend, I did not do this for the first 2 years. I just like emailed them a PDF and said, hey, you can print this out, sign it, scan it, email it back to me. But that's kind of a pain in the butt to do. So I use PandaDoc for e-signature for my client agreements. I send it to them. They can electronically sign all of the documents. I can sign the documents. I send it back to them. And then we both have a signed copy, electronically signed. There's like a legitimate certificate at the end of the document saying that this was electronically signed by both parties. Okay, the last 2 things I'm going to talk about are really all about CPAs, so complex. Okay, so what happens whenever your client asks you a complex tax question? You might not be a CPA, you might not be a tax professional. So the number one thing that you need to do is be honest. I never recommend lying to your client because they're always going to find out. It's not a good look. You need to be honest with your clients. So you have a couple options. If you don't know the answer, tell them that you don't know the answer. First of all, let me look into it. That's option number 1. Let me look into that question. I will get back to you tomorrow. You can ask somebody else. So I don't know the answer, but let me ask my CPA and I'll get back to you. Or the third option, once again, I don't know, but you say, I don't really know the answer to that question. I think that's a good question that you should ask your CPA or you should ask your tax professional. So if it's like a really complex issue that you don't think you'll be able to answer on your own, or maybe you don't really want to look into that and answer it on your own, tell your client, hey, I don't know the answer. I think you should ask your tax accountant. No shame in that because you're not a CPA, you're not a tax professional, you're a bookkeeper. So, hey, I don't really know that answer. You should ask your tax accountant. Or if you think you can answer it by asking your CPA, say, hey, I don't know the answer. Let me ask my CPA and I'll get back to you. And if you think you can figure it out on your own, I don't know the answer. Let me look into it. Let me do a little bit of research. I'll get back to you tomorrow. These first two options make you look really good. The third option should only be used if you definitely don't know how to get the answer. Okay, last thing I'm going to talk about, should you become a CPA? Be a CPA. So you're probably watching this as a bookkeeper. Chances are you're not a CPA if you're watching these videos. If you are, awesome. Great to have you learning about bookkeeping. But should you be a CPA? So a couple things you need to keep in mind. A lot of it depends on your age, kind of not really, because you're going to work until you're 65 years old. So unless you're 60 years old right now, you have plenty of time. Even if you're 60, you might live until you're 100, so you got 40 more years left to work, but chances are you're going to work until you're 65. So let's do some math real quick. Let's say, for example, you are 25 years old. That means you have 40 years left to work. So never use the excuse, I'm too old, I don't have enough time, because you have 40 years. So if you want to become a CPA, you need 150 credits. In Pennsylvania, you need 150 credit hours. Every state is different. Look into your own personal state that you live in. But if you want to be a CPA, you need 150 credits. And that typically takes 5 years going to school full time. 5 years going to school full time. If you go part time, it's going to take 10 years. If you take one class per semester, end up taking 3 classes per year, then this is going to take 16 years to get your CPA certification. So it can take anywhere from 5 years to 16 years to get 150 credits. But you have 40 years left to work. So the reason I'm saying all this is because a lot of people use the excuse, I don't have enough time. A lot of people who are 25, 30 years old cannot go to school full time. So they're not going to get their CPA in 5 years. If you're 18 years old, fresh out of high school, congratulations, you can probably go to school for the next 5 years, get enough credit hours, and become a CPA. But if you're like most people and you don't have a lot of time, it's probably going to take you between 10 and 16 years to get enough college credits to become a CPA. So if you have any interest in possibly becoming a CPA in the future, I recommend take one class at a time. It's probably going to cost maybe $2,000 per semester, which is a lot of money. Hopefully you can get a loan. If you're a veteran, you can go back to school for free. But the reason I'm saying all this is because I recommend, if you have the idea of becoming a CPA eventually, go back to school, take one class per semester. That way, in the next 40 years, you can become a CPA. And if you don't end up becoming a CPA, at least maybe you got an associate's degree or a certificate or a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. So at least you got something along the way. You got a lot of valuable education, and you probably learned a lot about bookkeeping and accounting. So ultimately, taking these classes on the road to becoming a CPA will help you with your bookkeeping business.